Welcome to our Speaking Fluency course. Hello everyone. Welcome back to our English learning channel. I am your English teacher. I'm so happy to have you here with me today for the second part of our language learning journey. First, if you haven't watched the first part of our course, I encourage you to check it out before starting this section. In the first part, we focused on essential listening skills, which are the foundation of learning any language. Trust me, it will help you understand this part much better. Now, let's talk about what we will learn in this part of the course. Our focus is on improving your speaking fluency. Speaking confidently and naturally in English is possible for everyone, including you. All it takes is the right techniques and consistent practice. Many learners feel nervous about speaking. They worry about making mistakes or not finding the right word. I completely understand that feeling. But today, I want to motivate you. You can overcome that fear. Speaking fluently is not about being perfect. It's about communicating your ideas clearly and confidently. Techniques for improving your speaking fluency. Here are some powerful techniques that will help you speak English more fluently. Shadowing. This technique helps you improve your pronunciation and speaking rhythm. You simply listen to native speakers and repeat what they say at the same time. Question and answer practice. Practicing questions and answers makes your conversations more natural. It helps you respond quickly without overthinking. Recording and reviewing. Recording your speech and listening to it gives you a chance to hear your mistakes and work on improvement. Joining online group conversations. Participating in online group discussions gives you real conversation experience with other learners and native speakers. These techniques may sound simple, but they are incredibly effective when you practice them consistently. Now, let me share some inspiring stories from my experience as a teacher. Over the years, I have seen students who started with zero confidence in speaking English. They would hesitate, pause, and feel embarrassed about their mistakes. But with the right guidance and practice, they transformed into confident speakers. One of my students, Peter, had a job opportunity abroad. He was worried because he couldn't express himself in English. At first, he avoided speaking as much as possible. But we worked together using shadowing and question-answer practice. Slowly, he became more comfortable. By the end of our sessions, Peter was confidently leading conversations at his workplace. It was amazing to see his transformation. Another student, Anna, loved learning new words but felt nervous about pronunciation. She started recording her speech and listening to it. By doing this, she discovered small mistakes she hadn't noticed before. With consistent effort, her pronunciation improved, and now she speaks English fluently. I share these stories because I want you to believe that you can do it too. No matter where you are in your learning journey, the key is to keep practicing and never give up. In the following sections, we will go deeper into each of these techniques. I will guide you step by step and share practical examples to make it easy for you to follow. Stay motivated and remember that every small effort brings you closer to your goal. I am excited to be part of your English learning journey. Let's get started together and unlock your full speaking potential. The power of shadowing. a technique for mastery. As time passed, Adam's progress with shadowing continued to amaze me. But there was still one crucial lesson that I wanted to ensure he understood. Shadowing was not just a technique, it was a mindset. It wasn't about simply repeating sentences. It was about immersing yourself in the language and letting it become a natural part of your communication. One day, Adam asked, "How can I keep improving with shadowing? I feel like I'm doing well, but I don't want to stop getting better." I smiled, appreciating his enthusiasm. "That's the key, Adam. Shadowing doesn't have a final destination. It's a tool that helps you constantly improve. You can keep refining your skills as long as you keep practicing. Every time you shadow a new speaker, you're not just repeating words, you're absorbing the rhythm, the culture, and the nuances of the language." He nodded, eager to learn more. Breaking through the next level. Now that Adam was comfortable with basic shadowing, I introduced him to more advanced practices. I encouraged him to listen to different types of speakers. Fast-paced speakers, speakers with accents, and even speakers who used slang. Each type of speaker presented a different challenge, and by shadowing them, Adam could adapt to a variety of real-life situations. "Listen to the speed," I said. "Sometimes people speak quickly, and other times they slow down to emphasize certain points. Your job is to match that speed, but also to maintain the clarity of your pronunciation." For example, we worked with a clip of a speaker who was speaking very quickly. "I've been traveling around the world, and every country has its own unique culture that shapes the way people live and interact." This time, Adam had to repeat the sentence much faster. Initially, he struggled, but after some practice, he began to match the speed while keeping his pronunciation clear. It wasn't easy, but it was the type of challenge that made his progress even more exciting. "See," I said, "the more you push yourself to shadow faster speakers, the more natural your own speech will become. You'll sound more fluent, and you won't have to think as much when you speak." Shadowing in real conversations. The ultimate goal of shadowing is to prepare learners for real conversations. It's easy to repeat sentences in a controlled environment, but real-life conversations require more flexibility and spontaneity. To help Adam, I suggested that he start shadowing in different contexts outside of the classroom. I asked him to watch English language videos on YouTube, follow podcasts, and even shadow his favorite movies or TV shows. By doing this, you'll hear different accents, different topics, and different ways people express themselves, I explained. When you shadow, you're not just repeating, you're training your brain to think in English. The more you do it, the easier it will be to speak naturally, without worrying about making mistakes. Adam took my advice to heart. He started shadowing podcasts during his commute, watching English movies with subtitles, and even recording himself repeating lines from his favorite scenes. Gradually, he became more confident and comfortable in his speaking. One day, Adam came into class and said, "I had a conversation with someone at the coffee shop today. They were speaking so fast, but I kept up with them. It felt so natural." That was the moment when I realized just how powerful the shadowing technique was. It wasn't just about repeating words, it was about training the brain to process English the way a native speaker would. And with enough practice, shadowing could lead to true fluency. Final thoughts: the key to mastery. Shadowing is more than just a speaking technique. It's a bridge between theoretical knowledge and practical use. It allows you to move from textbook English to the dynamic, unpredictable nature of real conversations. It teaches you to listen carefully, speak naturally, and adapt to the rhythm of the language. But, like any skill, shadowing requires time and dedication. It's not a quick fix, it's a long-term strategy that works best when practiced regularly. The more you shadow, the more you'll feel confident speaking English in a variety of situations. As Adam's journey showed me, shadowing is not just about sounding like a native speaker, it's about connecting with the language on a deeper level. It's about making English your own, until it flows naturally and effortlessly from your mouth. One of the most effective methods to improve your language skills: question and answer practice. As a teacher, I've always believed in the power of certain techniques that can significantly help language learners. And one of the most effective methods for improving your language skills is question and answer practice. This method is simple, but incredibly powerful. It's not just about learning grammar rules or vocabulary. It's about actively engaging in real conversations and thinking quickly in English. Let me tell you a story about one of my students, Sarah, who struggled with speaking but made great progress thanks to this technique. The story of Sarah: from hesitation to confidence with question and answer practice. Sarah came to my class as a beginner. She had been studying English for some time, but when it came to speaking, she struggled. She often found herself hesitating when asked a question, and this made her feel frustrated. One day, after a class, I noticed Sarah sitting quietly, looking uncertain. She was always a hard worker, but this time I could see that she wasn't feeling confident. "Sarah, is everything okay?" I asked, walking over to her. She looked up at me and said, "I just feel like I can't answer questions fast enough. Every time someone asks me something, I get nervous and I freeze." I nodded, understanding exactly how she felt. "It's completely normal, Sarah. But I have a technique that could really help you with this. It's called question and answer practice, and it's one of the most effective ways to improve your speaking skills." Sarah was curious, so I continued. "This technique is simple. You start by asking yourself basic questions and answering them. Then you practice with someone else. The more you do this, the faster you'll get at thinking and responding in English." She was a bit unsure at first. "How will that help me get faster?" she asked. I smiled. "The idea is to get used to forming sentences quickly and answering without hesitation. Over time, this helps you build confidence and think more fluidly in English." The first practice: asking simple questions. To begin, I asked Sarah a few simple questions. "Sarah, what's your name?" She answered right away, "My name is Sarah." "Great. Now, where are you from?" I asked. "I'm from India," she replied confidently. "Good job," I said. "Now let's make it a little more challenging. What do you like to do in your free time?" Sarah thought for a moment but quickly said, I like to read books and watch movies. Excellent. I praised her. Do you see? The more you practice answering questions, the more confident you become. Step 2. Using follow-up questions. The next step was to use follow-up questions to make the conversation flow more naturally. After she answered, I like to read books, I asked her. What kind of books do you like to read? Sarah thought for a moment and answered, I like reading mystery novels. Wonderful, I said. Now let's try something a little more difficult. Why do you like mystery novels? Sarah hesitated for a moment but then said, Because they are exciting, and I like solving the mysteries. Great. That was a perfect answer, I told her. See how it gets easier the more you practice? Step 3. Asking each other questions. Once Sarah felt comfortable answering questions, I encouraged her to ask me questions as well. Remember, asking questions is just as important as answering them, I said. This way, you engage more in the conversation. At first, Sarah was nervous to ask me anything, but I reassured her. Don't worry, just ask me anything you want. She took a deep breath and asked, What's your favorite food? I smiled and said, I love pizza. What about you, Sarah? My favorite food is kebab, she answered. Excellent, I said. You're doing a great job. The more you practice asking and answering questions, the more fluent and confident you will become. Step 4. More complex questions. As Sarah's confidence grew, I started to challenge her with more complex questions. What is your biggest goal in life, and how are you working towards it? I asked. She thought for a moment, then answered, My biggest goal is to become a teacher, and I'm working towards it by studying English and reading educational books. That's a great answer, Sarah. I praised her. The more you practice with these kinds of questions, the easier it will be to speak naturally and confidently in any situation. The results: confidence gained through practice. Over the next few weeks, Sarah practiced answering and asking questions both inside and outside the classroom. As she continued, I saw a remarkable change in her. She no longer hesitated when speaking. She started answering quickly and with more detail, and her confidence grew every day. One day, after class, Sarah told me, I was at a cafe today, and someone asked me where I'm from. Normally, I would have been so nervous, but today I answered without thinking. It felt amazing. This was a true breakthrough for Sarah, and I couldn't have been prouder. The question and answer practice had worked wonders. It had helped her not only become faster in her responses but also feel more comfortable and confident in real-life situations. The power of consistency. Keep practicing question and answer. The key to improving your speaking skills with the question and answer technique is consistency. The more you practice asking and answering questions, the more natural it will become. You'll start thinking in English more quickly, and responding will feel like second nature. This method works for all levels of learners, whether you're a beginner or more advanced. The goal is not perfection but progress. By practicing regularly, you'll find that your speaking speed improves and your confidence grows, just like Sarah's did. If you're ever unsure of what to practice, just ask yourself basic questions like, "What did I do today?" or "What are my hobbies?" The important thing is to make it a regular habit. Improving speaking skills with the technique of recording conversations and reviewing them. Improving your speaking skills can sometimes feel challenging, but there's a technique that can make this process more effective and even enjoyable: recording your conversations and reviewing them. This approach not only helps you identify areas that need improvement but also allows you to see how much progress you've made over time. It's a powerful method that can boost your confidence in speaking and is especially useful for learners at all levels. Let me tell you the story of one of my students, Sam, who found this technique particularly useful. Sam had always struggled with speaking in English. Although he could read and write well, speaking felt like a completely different challenge. He would often freeze up when he tried to speak, making him feel frustrated. Sam's story: from hesitation to confidence through recording and reviewing conversations. When Sam first came to my class, he expressed his frustration with speaking. "I can read articles and write essays in English, but when I try to speak, I can't seem to find the right words," he said. I could tell that he was a dedicated student, but his confidence was lacking when it came to speaking. I introduced him to the idea of recording his conversations and reviewing them. Initially, he was unsure. "How will recording myself help me?" he asked, looking skeptical. I explained, "When you record yourself, you can hear your mistakes, notice areas where you're hesitating, and see how much progress you've made over time. It's a way to be your own teacher and track your improvement." Step 1. Recording the first conversation. We started with a simple exercise. Sam recorded a conversation with me. We discussed everyday topics like hobbies and travel. Sam was nervous, but I assured him that this was just the beginning and that he didn't need to be perfect. When we finished, I asked him to listen to the recording. At first, Sam was hesitant. "I don't like the sound of my voice," he admitted, but I encouraged him to listen closely. "This is important," I said. "You'll hear things that you might not notice while you're speaking." After listening to the recording, Sam pointed out a few things. I noticed that I paused a lot and sometimes I couldn't find the right words. I nodded and explained, "That's completely normal, and it's why this technique is so useful." By hearing yourself, you can identify specific areas to improve. Step 2. Analyzing the mistakes and setting goals. We went over the recording together, and I helped Sam identify areas where he could improve. First, we noticed that he often paused when trying to recall a word. I suggested, "Let's work on improving your fluency by practicing speaking quickly. The more you practice, the easier it will be to respond without hesitation." Second, we discussed some of the words that Sam mispronounced. We went over the correct pronunciation and practiced them several times. Sam was surprised at how much he could improve with just a little extra attention to these details. Lastly, I pointed out that Sam's sentence structure could be a bit more natural. "Let's focus on making your speech flow more smoothly," I suggested. You can do this by practicing common sentence structures and phrases that native speakers use. Step 3. Re-recording and making progress. The next week, we did another recording. This time, Sam felt more prepared. He had practiced the vocabulary and sentences we had discussed, and his confidence was higher. When we listened to the new recording, I could hear the improvements immediately. His sentences were smoother, his pronunciation clearer, and the pauses between words had shortened. Sam was thrilled with his progress. "I can hear the difference. I'm speaking faster, and I don't pause as much," he said with a smile. "But I still need to work on my fluency and reducing my hesitations." I told him that this was the beauty of this technique. You can always improve. The key is consistency. Keep recording, keep reviewing, and keep pushing yourself. Step 4. Continuous practice and review. Sam continued recording and reviewing his conversations each week. Over time, his speaking skills improved significantly. One of the most valuable aspects of this method was that Sam could track his progress by listening to his old recordings and comparing them to the new ones. It gave him tangible proof of his improvement, which kept him motivated. A few months later, Sam listened to his first recording again and said, "I can't believe how much I've improved. I don't hesitate anymore, and I can speak much more clearly." Why this technique works: self-review and progress tracking. Recording conversations and reviewing them is a highly effective technique because it allows you to become your own teacher. By listening to your own recordings, you can hear where you need to improve and track your progress. This method helps to 1. Increase fluency. By hearing yourself speak, you become more aware of pauses and hesitations, which helps you practice speaking more fluidly. 2. Improve pronunciation. Listening to your pronunciation helps you catch mistakes and correct them, making your speech clearer over time. 3. Build confidence. Seeing how much you improve each time you listen to a new recording boosts your confidence and encourages you to keep practicing. Conclusion: keep recording and reviewing for continuous improvement. Sam's story is just one example of how the technique of recording and reviewing conversations can transform your speaking skills. By consistently practicing and reviewing your recordings, you can identify areas for improvement and track your progress. The key is consistency. Keep recording your conversations, keep reviewing them, and above all, be patient with yourself. With each new recording, you're taking one more step toward becoming a more confident, fluent speaker of English. Joining online group conversations to improve speaking skills, a personal experience. One of the most rewarding moments in my teaching journey was when one of my students, Laura, discovered the power of online group conversations. At first, she was hesitant. She had been practicing speaking alone in front of a mirror and even recording herself, but joining a group of people and speaking live felt like a huge challenge. But over time, she transformed into a confident speaker. Let me tell you how it all unfolded. The first step: overcoming the fear of speaking in a group. When Laura came to me, she had been learning English for a while, but was still very self-conscious about speaking. She felt like she was missing out on real communication because, although she could understand English quite well, speaking felt like something entirely different. I know a lot of vocabulary, and I understand everything when I read, but I just can't speak fluently," she said one day during a lesson. "When I try, I get nervous and my words don't come out the way I want." I knew exactly how she felt because I had seen this happen with many students before. It's common for learners to have a strong understanding of the language but struggle when it comes to speaking. The real key, I told her, was to practice in a real-life setting, where she could engage with others and practice on the spot. I suggested, "Laura, have you ever tried joining an online group conversation?" She looked at me, puzzled. "What do you mean? How can that help me?" I explained that online group conversations are a great way to practice speaking with others in real time. There are platforms where people from all over the world join to practice English. It's a safe, supportive environment where you can speak without judgment. And the best part is it's not just about practicing, but about real communication. Laura was intrigued, though still a little uncertain. She had never joined a group like that before. But what if I make mistakes? What if I can't keep up with the conversation? I reassured her. Making mistakes is part of the learning process. Everyone makes them, and in a group, you'll find that people are very supportive. Plus, you'll get the opportunity to learn from others and improve. Step 1. Finding the right group. After Laura agreed to give it a try, we began looking for a suitable online group. We found several online platforms where English learners and native speakers gather to practice speaking, share experiences, and discuss various topics. I encouraged Laura to join a beginner-friendly group. At first, Laura was very nervous. She joined a conversation group that met once a week. The first few sessions were difficult for her. "I feel like I don't have enough time to think before speaking," she confessed after the first meeting. "The conversation moves so fast." I nodded and explained, "This is a great challenge. It forces you to think on your feet. And that's exactly what you need to do in real-life conversations. Don't worry if you can't answer right away. Take your time and join the conversation when you feel comfortable." Step 2. Practicing and gaining confidence. As the weeks went by, Laura began to get more comfortable in the group. She started speaking more confidently, even though she still made mistakes. What helped her the most was hearing the other participants speak and seeing that they made mistakes too. One day, Laura told me, "I didn't even feel nervous during the conversation today. I made some mistakes, but I felt like I was a part of the discussion." She was getting used to hearing others speak too. It's funny because I used to think I was the only one making mistakes, but now I see that everyone makes them. I could tell that Laura was starting to relax and enjoy the experience. The pressure she once felt had eased, and she started participating more actively. The group's supportive atmosphere helped her feel more confident. Step 3. Learning from others. One of the things that Laura found most beneficial was the chance to listen to how other people communicated. The group had a variety of speakers, from beginners to advanced learners. Every week, Laura picked up new phrases, expressions, and ways of structuring sentences. She started applying these to her own speech, and her fluency improved as a result. One week, she mentioned, "I noticed that one of the native speakers always says, 'Let me think about that,' when they need a moment to gather their thoughts. I think I'll start using that too. By participating in these group conversations, Laura was able to observe the way others approached communication. This helped her expand her vocabulary and become more comfortable with different sentence structures. It's amazing how much I've learned just by listening to others, she said. I feel like my English is getting more natural. Step 4. The power of real-time feedback. Another important aspect of online group conversations is the feedback you get. It's one thing to practice by yourself, but when you speak with others, you get immediate feedback on how you sound and whether you're being understood. Sometimes the group members would correct each other's mistakes, but always in a friendly, supportive way. One day, Laura said, "I've learned so much about how to use so and because in my sentences. Someone in the group corrected me, and now I feel like I'm using them more naturally." This real-time correction helped her refine her speaking skills and improve her ability to express herself more clearly. Step 5. Building connections and confidence. Laura continued to join group conversations regularly. Over time, she became one of the most active members in the group. She no longer hesitated to speak up and was able to contribute to the discussions with ease. As her speaking skills improved, her confidence grew, and she started looking forward to the conversations. One of the most valuable things about these online groups was the opportunity to build connections with people from all over the world. Laura made friends in the group who encouraged her to keep practicing. "It feels great to be a part of this community," she said. "I'm not just learning English, I'm also making friends and learning about different cultures." Conclusion: joining online group conversations as a way to practice speaking. Laura's story shows how participating in online group conversations can be a transformative experience. By overcoming her initial fear and joining a group, she was able to improve her speaking skills, learn new phrases, and build her confidence. Most importantly, she realized that speaking is not about being perfect, it's about communicating and learning from each experience. For any language learner, joining an online group conversation is a fantastic way to practice speaking in a real-world context. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but the more you practice, the more confident you will become. And like Laura, you'll find that making mistakes is just part of the process, and that's what helps you grow.